Okay, hi everyone. I just want to get started. Um, we're still having people log in, but I do want to be very cognizant of your time. So we have an 11:30 start, so we're going to go ahead and start. So good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Karen Smith, and I'm the Executive Director for Leadership Macomb. And I just want to let you know that we're recording this session because we had a lot of people that couldn't make it but wanted to see our presenters. So I hope you're okay with that. For those of you that are not familiar with Leadership Macomb, I just want to let you know that since 1996, over 1,200 professionals from all business sectors have graduated from our 10-month experiential program. We were unable to have a program this year because of the pandemic, but we wanted to stay true to our mission of educating and connecting leaders. So we developed this Learn with Leaders series, and this is our fourth topic in the series. And we're grateful that you're with us today and excited to learn more about the defense industry from Colonel Kramer and Carrie Mead. I want to thank our series sponsors, Macomb Community College, Henry Ford Macomb Hospital, Marchand Advisory Group, DTE, Oakland University, Plant Moran, First State Bank. And during these sessions, we're trying to highlight each of our sponsors. So today, we're going to focus a little bit on Macomb Community College, and we're very happy to have Kevin Chandler with us today. He's a Leadership Macomb graduate, and he's currently the Vice President of College Advancement and Community Relations for Macomb Community College. Kevin, do you want to say a few words?
Yes, thank you, Karen. As Karen said, I'm Kevin Chandler, Vice President for College Advancement and Community Relations at Macomb Community College. I'm stepping in actually for President Sawyer today, who unfortunately could not attend this session, but sends his best to all of you. Macomb Community College is definitely a strong supporter and obviously a sponsor of Leadership Macomb, such a wonderful asset to the county and the region. And we just want to say thank you to Karen, the staff and directors and the councils for all that you do to make this such an incredible program for both the core graduates and those graduating from Junior Leadership Macomb, in actually these sessions as well, which are great. Having graduated from Leadership Macomb myself, class of 14, as well as a previous mentor for Junior Leadership Macomb, I've had the opportunity to experience some amazing aspects of the county, as well as forge some lifelong relationships that have helped both in my own success and career. So thank you, Karen, and the rest of the team for all that you do. Just wanted to share some things going on at the college. Our primary focus has been and will always be on the safety of our students, staff, and faculty while supporting the progress of our students toward their academic goals. While the college is primarily operating virtually, students can still choose a virtual option that mimics traditional on-ground courses with regular class meetings, discussions, and also asynchronous online class formats. And basically what that means is that students, in effect, can learn on their own schedule. Our faculty and staff are committed to providing high quality learning experiences, and we're tapping alternative methods and technology, obviously, to ensure that students master the subject matters, even in this remote learning environment. We do offer and are offering a limited amount of on-ground classes at the moment. Most of those require hands-on experience, and they're primarily in the health and public service areas. We're carefully monitoring recommendations, so hopefully we will begin to add more on-ground learning opportunities in the fall or when it's safe to do so. And we're definitely urging individuals, anybody you may know, if you're thinking about going back, not to stop out during this pandemic. It's more important than ever for our students to pursue an education that translates into career pathways that can weather these economic challenging times. We have a lot of things to offer our students: non-credit certificates, degrees. We have some great transfer opportunities as well to some wonderful four-year college and universities in the state, and that's a testament to the staff and faculty at Macomb Community College. Just a couple of highlights for a couple of programs that we wanted to mention. We do now have a new comprehensive marine technician training program. That's a 5-week program that's developing our students with skills critical to helping the marine industry. It's a dynamic field that has work year round. Many of our students are getting into entry-level jobs, earning somewhere between $35,000 and $45,000 with benefits to start. And that's a 5-week program. We've also transitioned our SOAR program. Some of you may be familiar with our SOAR program. It was the Society of Active Retirees. We're now transitioning to a new name, which is the Macomb Organization for Retiree Enrichment. That initial program started in 2014. It's been met with phenomenal success. We're transitioning to the new name to better align our affiliation with the college in the region. Our spring session for the program starts April 5th and will go till May 7th. And that's roughly about 30 to 35 sessions people can take advantage of. And finally, one thing to highlight, additional thing to highlight is the newly announced Michigan Reconnect program. You may have seen some articles on this recently. This is a grant program open for applications that opened for applications just a couple weeks ago. It provides free or reduced tuition options for more than 4 million Michiganders over the age of 25 who do not currently have a college degree. So that's a great program that's been instituted. So there's just so many things happening at Macomb. We encourage you to explore a lot of the opportunities that we have for education as well as in enrichment. And again, just want to say thank you to Kieran and the rest of the team at Leadership Macomb for all that you guys do and for giving me some time to talk briefly to you today. So looking forward to this wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thanks for your support, both personally and through the college. The college has been such an instrumental part of Leadership Macomb since we started in 1996. So thank you so much. Okay, so Macomb County is unique in many ways. We kind of know that. We have Lake St. Clair and some beautiful, beautiful areas, but we also have a very robust defense presence. Not only Selfridge Air National Guard Base, but also the Detroit Arsenal, TARDAC, TACOM, BAE, General Dynamics, and much more. It's an enormous, enormous economic driver locally, regionally, nationally, and globally. We are honored to have with us today Colonel Kramer from Selfridge Air Force Base and Carrie Mead from the Detroit Arsenal. They are going to brief us individually, and then any questions you have can be submitted through the chat, and we'll field those questions and ask them after both presenters have finished their briefing. So without further ado, let's begin. And our first presenter is Colonel Daniel J. Kramer II, Commander 127th Mission Support Group at Selfridge Air National Guard Base. Colonel Kramer, welcome, and you are on.
Thank you, ma'am. It's a pleasure to be here. Can you all hear me? Give me the thumbs up. Good. All right. Thank you for inviting me. I speak for General Maumon when I offer that he wishes he could be here. He is the wing commander for Selfridge. So you get the next best guy, I guess, on the list. So appreciate it again. And I'll start. If you could pull the slides up, I'll get started. And I'm going to apologize in advance if I use any acronyms. Please, I know my PA is on the line and he will definitely let me know, but I will try my best to spell everything out first. And there we go. There's the briefing. And you can go ahead and flip to the next slide. All right, so we'll start with just our organizational leadership construct. And I'm even going to back up from here. There's General Maumon at the top, but I think it's important to know that the Air National Guard and the Army National Guard, they are unique and distinctly different from the reserve components or the active duty. Our chain of command really starts at the governor. So Governor Whitmer is our executive. So it starts with her, and then the Adjutant General, the acronym is TAG, is a 2-star general that's responsible for both the Army and the Air National Guard. From there, he defines or assigns an Air National Guard commander and an Army National Guard commander, and he calls them his assistant adjutant generals. Those two people are identified as Brigadier General Teff for the air side, and I won't speak for the Army side, but I know that it's Brigadier General Schlegel, but we'll stick with the air today, and we then come to General Mammon, who works directly for the commander of the Air National Guard, General Teff, and this is his team. So you've got Colonel Clark is the vice wing commander, and then Chief Gordon is the command chief with the star on his shoulder there. He's the wing command chief. So that's his headquarters staff team. And then right below that, you'll see me there on the bottom left. We are the group commanders. The five of us execute the missions at Selfridge for the Air National Guard. So we can go ahead. Let me make sure I hit everything on that slide. I think I did. Yes, thank you. Next slide. So the missions at Selfridge, the Air National Guard missions, unique. The unique thing about Selfridge is we have 2 flying missions at one installation in the Air National Guard, and that's unique to the Air National Guard and unique to the active duty. Normally, you have 1 weapon system on an installation, and we have 2. And both of those weapon systems you'll see here, the KC-135 straddle tanker. It's an air refueling aircraft. And then the A-10 Thunderbolt II, also known as the Warthog, which is a close air support platform. And we'll talk a little bit about that, but you can go on to the next slide. All right, so we'll start with the air refueling group. So that's I'm not going to read the mission statement for you, but a couple unique things about the tanker mission. One is that aircraft is very old. I think the original design might be 50s. It does have a commercial equivalent that's probably no longer flown. I think it's it might still be in service in some airlines, but I believe it's 747. And I'm not a pilot, so I don't want to speak too much about the aircraft itself, but the mission is extremely important to our national defense. We call it a combat enabler, because when you think about extending the range of some of our weapon systems, you can't do it without the ability to air refuel. So that's bombers, that's fighters, that's ISR, intelligence, surveillance, or reconnaissance aircraft. This tanker platform can keep aircraft in the air 4 or 5 times longer than their normal loiter time. And really the only thing that will force an aircraft to come down is crew duty day. So this is a unique capability that the United States Air Force relies heavily on the Air National Guard to support a lot of their missions, and Selfridge has that unique capability. We have 8 aircraft here at Selfridge, and this refueling group is like a package that includes the operators, the folks that fly, the boom operators, the technicians in the back that hook up the boom to the receiving aircraft, and also all the maintainers fall within the air refueling group, the people that make sure the aircraft is on its regular maintenance schedule, gets the required maintenance, and is able, and they also fix the aircraft when they break, obviously. And there's various support functions within the group as well, such as administrative, computer support, some organic flight equipment support, are to name a few. Okay, next slide, please. All right, then we talk about the other operations group. This is the unique part I was telling you, that we have 2 flying missions for 2 distinctly different major commands. The first command that the tanker unit falls under is the Air Mobility Command. The operations group for the 127th for the A-10 falls on Air Combat Command. And you can see, the slide's pretty neat. You see the artwork on the A-10 in the background, and you see a former group commander with her team behind her. And there's death to the enemy is they like to speak that mantra. But Unique to this platform, the Army is very, very reliant on the A-10. It's a close air support platform. It's, when you talk about doing the dirty work and getting down low where you're at risk of getting shot down by the enemy, this platform is what does that. And they get danger close to the enemy in order to support our Army and our Marine and our Navy brethren that are on the ground, should they be fighting in close combat with the enemy. So you hear a lot of stories from the theater that if it weren't for the A-10s, a lot of lives would have been lost, because the enemy is terrified when they hear the sound of the A-10 coming down the valley, because they get really low and they've got a mean gun on it. So that's I'll finish. That's all I've got for that slide. So next slide, please. Okay, so behind all the operations, you always have support, right? The 127th Maintenance Group is a separate group that directly supports the maintenance of the A-10. It's a large, you see there, 508 airmen. It's very large in retrospect to the KC-135, because it's got so many unique functions. You've got weapons and ammo, and then the avionics, a special strike pod on the aircraft. There's a lot of things that they have some unique capabilities, and they need to have their own standalone organization. So where the ARG, the refueling group, had their maintenance was internal to the organization, the A-10 group actually needed they get a separate group. So next slide, please. Okay, and then the medical group. So the medical group is important when it comes to their deployment function of going into theater and transiting patients from the battlefield to the medical facility that they'd be seen at, and then transporting all the way back to a facility that can take care of the injuries. I'm not as familiar with this function. I know that they're in the middle of changing what their wartime function is, but I know that when it comes to the day-to-day operations, they're instrumental in making sure the airmen at the 127th Wing are able to get their medical requirements met, whether it's their immunizations, their annual physicals, their anything that goes with medical and readiness. This group is responsible for. Very important function at the home station. Next slide, please. And then there's my group, the 127th Mission Support Group. General Mammon always likes to tout that he is the mayor of Selfridge. The adjutant general has said that General Mammon, you are my mayor for that installation. And if for those of you that are in the duties of running a town or an organization for government, that you've got to have a city manager. Well, that's kind of my position, is I'm the city manager for Selfridge. Anything support related falls on our shoulders. So we handle the force protection for the base, which is the security forces, or similar to military police and the Army. Our fire department, with active full-time fire department. We have a logistics squadron responsible for all the fuel operations for the aircraft, sending things and receiving things for the aircraft, and then the deployment function of getting people off the installation and to the area of responsibility in the combat theater. Additionally, we have a personnel flight, which is a squadron, I should say, which is responsible for anything human resources related. So that's promotions. It closely ties to the pay system, any career progression training. That falls under us. And then one of the bigger functions underneath my command is the communications flight, and they're responsible for, as you can imagine, all the comms across the base, the installation, and then they have a capability to deploy and set up a comm infrastructure at an austere location. One thing I'll note here, you'll see the uniforms are a little different in some of these pictures. We're in the middle of going through a change from the old uniform to the uniform that looks more like the Army uniform, the one that I'm wearing today. The OCPs are occupational camouflage pattern. That's what we're going to go to. So hopefully in the next 6 months to a year, we'll have all have the same uniform. Next slide, please. All right, so some unique characteristics about Selfridge that bring interested parties to our state to train is our airspace complex. There's a large airspace complex. They call it the Alpena complex. You can see it on the slide. A lot of water range, water area where they'll do a lot of refueling up in that airspace. And then there's an air to ground range in Grayling that our A-10s will use. And it brings a lot of people up to Alpena. And some of you may go up north for vacation. If you go up anytime in July, August, you're probably going to see a lot of aircraft flying around that area, going up 75. It's kind of neat. You have to keep your eyes on the road because sometimes you think they're 100 feet above you. It's not too comfortable. Next slide, please. I think it's more of the same on the airspace. It just gives you some ideas on the size of the airspace. The previous graphic showed you that Nellis Air Force Base has considered the best airspace in the country for training, and our airspace is similar in size. All right, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, so then Selfridge is a lot more than the 127th Wing, and we have every service on the installation minus the newly formed Space Force is represented here. Either more of the reserve component than the active component, but we do have some active components here. In the photos you see in the upper left, you can see that the Chinook, the Army helicopter. So the Army Guard is stationed here. The right is the picture of our governor coming off one of the planes. She looks like she had a tour of the tanker aircraft. The bottom right is the Marine Reserve Unit stationed here. And then bottom left is the Coast Guard. There's many, many more. Like I said, every service minus the Space Force is represented. The Department of Homeland Security, the Customs and Border Patrol, the DHS, Homeland Security's Air and Marine Wing is here. Very unique mission sets, and we continue to try to bring more out to our installation. Okay, let's go to the next slide. This is this slide really hits to the importance of Selfridge's location on the northern border and how it's been in the past used as a regional response center. And Senator Levin was instrumental in getting DHS assets here, and they are here today, and they continue to grow. Next slide, please. Okay, well, so I wanted a couple other things I'll hit on. The community impacts, and yeah, and you can keep it on this slide. That's probably there to remind me to talk about how we have the potential to grow. So Selfridge, just the 127th Wing alone has an operating budget of about $140 million. That includes salaries and the reserve pay that we give our airmen that come and drill. Our budgets, across the wing for construction projects and supplies, material, and those types of things. That's pretty sizable, and that's only the 1,500 people that work at the wing on a total. We've got about a third of that is full time, and we're only about a third of the wing's population if everybody were here at the same time. The last number I remember seeing was about 4,500 people call this place a work place at some point in their month, if it's the reserve weekend or whether they come on a day-to-day basis. We stand ready to take on new missions. And here's some of the things that are happening today. We just recently stood up what's called the Kelly Johnson Joint All-Domain Innovation Center. It's really the wing commander's wing commander decided to set aside some funds, innovation funds, to set up an area where defense problems can be tackled from the members of the wing, and we can collaborate with some academia and even industry at times. So And that's a growing concept that we see a bright future with that concept. We've got, many of you have heard that the F-35 is slated to come to Selfridge, still is. We don't know when. I think every time that a unit stands up, they go through a selection process and which unit is next, and we're still on that list. We'd like it to be sooner than later, but it's not our call. We have air shows every 2 years. The last one was canceled due to the COVID, and we are slated now. I think it's next June. No, not the upcoming, but June of 22 is the next air show. And we rely heavily on the support from the community for the air show, for one, and we get it. 100,000 people a day come out to that air show, and my public affairs officer, Mr. Ulmer, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but those are the numbers I remember. The other things, we have an extremely active base community council here at Selfridge, one of the most active in the country.
I apologize. I think we're having some technical difficulty with Colonel Kramer. Seems like he froze there for a second, so I apologize. He was talking about the Base Community Council, and I am a member of that, and that is an extraordinary group. If anyone's interested in becoming a part of that, I would be happy to talk to you more about that. They meet monthly. Right now they're doing it virtually, but they have excellent speakers, and it's for community leaders that support everything that's going on at Selfridge. So if anyone's interested, let me know, and I'd be happy to hook you up with that. Let's see. Colonel Kramer is back yet? No, I guess not. He is trying to hop back on. So we're going to show a video that Selfridge provided to us. It's a really nice video. So let's do that right now. Can you hear it?
My apologies, team. I'm back online now.
Go ahead, Colonel. Okay, Colonel Kramer, I just, while you were off for a minute, I was just talking about the Base Community Council a little bit because I'm a member of that. So you can go ahead and continue.
Thank you. I'm almost done.
Okay.
So I will, actually, I can probably finish up and summarize in one slide, and then we'll play the video.
Okay.
I think one thing that we can offer the community is an opportunity for our young women and men to get funding for schooling with our tuition assistance plan. We can offer up to 100% tuition assistance for members that join the unit. And we also have the opportunity, based on our the careers we have out here, there isn't a job out here that doesn't translate directly to a job in the community, whether it's human resources, maintenance, vehicle maintenance, mechanics, civil engineers, construction, contracting. We have the full gamut of careers here. It's not just pilots and firefighters. So I always offer that up whenever we talk to the community about what we do, because there's always room for more and how we can give back is through free education, which will in turn get people into your schools. I saw, Macomb Community presented today, 100% tuition assistance is relatively new for us. So that's where I'll leave it there, and I'll let you play the video, and then I'm standing by for questions. Over.
Okay. Thank you. What if I Thank you. Thank you so much, Colonel Kramer. That was a great presentation, and I love the video. Leadership Macomb has a strong relationship with Southridge, and over the past 2 decades, we've been privileged to offer our participants an opportunity to participate in a civic leaders flight. So when I see that video and I see the KC-135 Stratotanker doing the mid-air refueling, it just brings back a lot of memories, because for our class participants that have been able to have that experience, it's something that they never, ever forget, and they talk about it all the time. And we're very grateful that we're able to offer that through our partnership with you. So very, very, very interesting and very important work you're doing there. So thank you so much. And we look forward to the next air show. If you could stay around, we're going to do questions at the end. So next, we have Leadership Macomb graduate and Garrison manager, Carrie Mead. Thank you for being here today, Carrie. Your turn.
Excellent. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for this opportunity. As Karen had said, I am a Leadership Macomb graduate and greatly appreciate everything that LM did and all the connections that it's made for me that I still take advantage of as a graduate of the program. I was also going to say, you know, nothing was more exciting than going up and being part of a refueling mission for my Leadership Macomb cohort. We still talk about what a great experience that was. So appreciate that. It's my pleasure to join you guys after listening to Colonel Kramer. He is a great partner, and we'll talk a little bit about some of those Army folks that are on his installation, include my family morale, welfare, and recreation folks. So awesome. Thanks, Julie. So I'm here to talk to you a little bit more specifically about the Arsenal and the Army's footprint here as the last active duty installation in the state, and actually in a 3-state area. So we play an important role for many of our folks who are active members of service in our community. On the next slide, you'll see, and many of you know us as the old tank plant, right? If you talk to folks about the Detroit Arsenal, they might give you a quizzical look. But if you tell them you're talking about the old tank plant, they'll say, of course, I know somebody who worked at the old tank plant. So really, I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the Detroit Arsenal itself as the footprint here in our Warren community for all the great activities that the Army and a few of our other partners have going on to support defense of our nation. So like Colonel Kramer, I am also the city manager of our installation. We've civilianized our position. It's no longer held by a military member, but I do many of the same things that he talked about, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. Really, I'll say our focus here is to take care of the safety and the security of the folks who work on the Arsenal, provide the services that they need to get their work done, and really try to get after their quality of life. And we do that by focusing on good quality customer service, both to those inside of our gate and as a good partner to our community. I'll go to the next slide. A little bit of history, because I love these old pictures, so I love bringing these into the brief. But you know, the Detroit Tank Arsenal really was a gun repair and munitions center early in the 1800s, and was in the banks of the Detroit River, and like many things, later moved out to the Dearborn area. We reestablished in Warren right around World War II, and you can see in that bottom picture down there, that is indeed a picture of the old tank plant area and FDR rolling through, checking out the production of our tanks at that time. Chrysler received that contract in the 40s, and they rolled out many a tank from that location. There's another picture that I love that Steve didn't throw in this briefing, but it's all of the workers at the tank plant sitting on top of the, you know, almost 3-story building with their legs swinging over the edge that my safety manager would have a heart attack over right now. But we've been here since 41, roughly. They called it the ordnance plant to start with and became the Arsenal, Detroit Tank Arsenal at that time. So during World War II, you can see it was a very active location. And after 56 years of service, they did BRAC or base realign and close the actual tank plant itself in 1996. All the tanks that you might see now, the Abrams tanks, are all produced down at Lima Tank Plant in Ohio. Nonetheless, we're still providing a lot for the military here today, and I'll share a little bit more of that with you as we go through the briefing. We can go next slide. I pulled some things that I found from an OSD report just to kind of share general in the community. And this really speaks a little bit to also what Colonel Kramer brought up about impact of defense in Michigan. I think what's probably most interesting about this particular chart is really looking that we're 25th for state spending. We're only 1.2% of total defense spending here. Yet we're still a really large part of the community and have a lot of economic impact. You can see most things are contracted supplies and equipments, and this chart's all about defense contracts. Some research and development, some services, and a little bit of building, right? There's not a whole lot of building going on in this area, but we're getting ready to kick off a really big military construction project in 22, which is the first one we've seen probably in 15 years. You can see by service, the Army does have the biggest footprint here, and we probably do the most spending, and we'll talk a little bit more about who sits on the Arsenal in a future chart, but they procure or design and acquire all of the ground vehicle systems for the Army and many other items that soldiers use on a day-to-day basis. So there's, you can see there are billions of dollars of spending for companies like General Dynamics, BAE Systems, and some of the other big prime contractors that do defense work. All right, we'll go next slide. So this is defense personnel, and I'll share this with you in the next 2 slides just to really illustrate how integral Macomb County is to defense for the state. While the Michigan Defense Center was able to track and kind of locate many subcontractors who do defense work all throughout the whole state, we really are the central nexus of defense spending here in the state. So you can see the National Guard folks take up just as much as my civilian workforce and the few civilians that work in some of the other locations as well. We have a very small active duty population here. We'll talk about our numbers and who we serve on the arsenal in the future, but that number is really, really low. And you can see then that our friends at Selfridge and throughout the state, our military hometown heroes make up a great part of our personnel in this area. Also, just taking you over to the chart on the right-hand side there, you can see Macomb County certainly tops out the numbers for where people live and work in doing their defense. And we take some time here in the arsenal about once a year to map out where our workforce lives. And over half of the civilians who work here on the arsenal live in Macomb County, as do about half of the military members as well. Next slide. So defense spending locations, this is just to share with you guys. This again came out of that Office of the Secretary of Defense report. You can see by far we are the center, Macomb County, for defense contract spending. We'll go next slide. We'll go quick through these. And then personnel spending as well. So you can see that we live and work and spend our money in this community. We have various leaders throughout defense in our metro area. Great, thank you. Next slide. So this is a little bit about my organization. So as Colonel Kramer talked about, being the city manager, my job and my team's job is to make sure we provide the space for all of the other Army activities and defense activities to do the work that they need to do on the arsenal. You can see that I report to in a dashed line up to Brigadier General Werner, who is the TACOM commander. He is the senior officer on this installation, responsible for the entire installation's safety and security, and delegates many duties and authorities down to me as the garrison manager to perform that at the arsenal. I also report up directly to a civilian who is a part of the senior executive service. You can see Davis Tyndall there on the right, SES. As a member of the senior executive service, he's the equivalent of a 2-star general who reports up to my 3-star general at my installation management command. So I have a direct line of authority through that right side, but I serve really the local commander here to make sure we're meeting his needs and that the mission is able to perform their duties. You can see that I'll have things just like Colonel Kramer was talking about, human resource services, operations, public works, public affairs, equal opportunity. What's maybe a little bit different on naming convention wise from what you might know from your local municipalities is like DFMWR. So that family morale, welfare, and recreation is really kind of the equivalent of your parks and recreation and your social services that are in your community. And we offer those to the folks who work here on the arsenal. All right, we'll go next slide. So more importantly, really is who are we doing this work for, right? If I'm the landlord of the arsenal, what is the work that's being done here? And you can see in the middle, the big badge goes to TACOM, which is the Tank and Automotive Command, and General Werner, who was on the previous chart in the dashed line. So this whole community, and we call this our patch chart, all of the crests for the various organizations. This whole community does all of the acquisition, logistics, and technology for the ground wheeled vehicle fleet, as well as other various items. So TACOM is known especially for its sustainment or its logistical tail. They do that by working with that integrated logistics support center that's right under them that is here locally on the arsenal and is actually one of the biggest populations of the workforce that we have here. TACOM is also forward facing. So while General Werner is my senior commander here at the installation, he is also the senior commander of various depots and arsenals throughout the United States that take care of, refurbish and work on all of the ground wheeled fleet throughout the country. So how do we get those vehicles to start with? And that is working with the two PEOs, or Program Executive Offices, which are the acquisition arm of the Army, of Department of the Army. So those two organizations work on requirements that are fed from soldiers and go through the whole process of acquiring the vehicle systems and the products that soldiers need to do their jobs. So ground combat systems and combat support and combat service support are the two orgs that buy and procure and spend all those billions of dollars that you saw on the previous charts. They do this through the two flanking organizations there. So the DevCom logo is for our research and development folks here, formerly known as TARDEC, but now the Ground Vehicle Systems Center, who do research and development and come up with new technologies to either improve upon systems that are in place or to inform the acquisition process and what they need to buy. And then of interest, our newest organization is the Next Generation Combat Vehicle with their team that arrived. That's a 1-star billet, and they're the Futures Command that we had kind of vied for, trying to bring the entire Futures Command to Detroit, and we ended up with the Next Generation Combat Vehicle with their fielding team. So all of those tenants that are on that top list are either 1- or 2-star organizations that are led either by military members or civilians of the senior executive service. On the other lines, you'll see other things. So the ACC DTA, that's the Army Contracting Command here at the Detroit Arsenal. That's also led by a 1-star equivalent senior executive. And that's the organization, just as Colonel Kramer referred to doing contracting on his installation, very large organization that does all of the contracting for those two program executive offices and acquiring those vehicles. We also have other, I call them the cats and dogs, right, on the installation. So Army Auditing Agency, the Defense Logistics Agency is a defense level organization that's here, our Corps of Engineers partners. And of interest really to many folks is understanding that we do have a few international partners here that do foreign military sales with the United States and have local offices for procuring the vehicle systems that they buy from the US government. And of course, we like to reach out to our partners at the wing as one of our important partners that we have to execute our mission and do things like our golf course, our childcare center, our marina, and our RV storage lot that are on Selfridge. Next slide, please. So this is always very interesting. We look a little bit different here at the Arsenal than you might expect a military installation to look like. In part, if you see of our total population there in the middle of about 7,400 people, only about 170 of them are active duty military members. The other make up contractors, Department of the Army civilians, non-appropriated fund employees, and a few other folks that make up our total workforce installation population. There's a very small number of active duty folks. I always tell people, having lived on many different military installations in my lifetime, that we're like the corporate Army here. You'll only find a handful of those folks. Because of that too, and because of the jobs that are performed here, there's not a lot of entry-level military jobs here. Most of our folks are more senior and are leading their organizations on these research and development projects or on the acquisition of new systems. More interestingly, and we share much of this with some of the offices that Colonel Kramer has, is that we do serve a greater, larger community. And we pull this data from the bottom there from a report called DEERS, which, boy, I can't say their acronym, maybe Phil will save me. But the DEERS report helps us understand who is in our community that is issued military ID and eligible for services, maybe from my installation. And they may seek to get things like ID cards from me. They may go out to Selfridge. But they're also folks that we might serve with programs that we do through our community service, such as the Army Emergency Relief Program, no interest loans to soldiers and retirees in their time of need. So that's a pretty big population and a good number to look at, especially as we look at retirees and retirees' dependents and who may be living in our community. Next slide, please. So our community is a big deal for us in that forward outreach. We talked a little bit about the economic drivers, job creation, contracting. Much of that money spent in the local area. Some of it, the contracting is done elsewhere, but we're very tied in with economic development and making sure that we help protect and grow defense in this area. And that is an initiative that we do hand in hand with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation and the Michigan Defense Center. For infrastructure, you'll see that we're really tied in with our community, right? We have Mound Road that runs on the west end side of our installation. We're just north of 696. We do a lot of work with the local county. We do a lot of work with our local municipalities, trying to make sure that we're good stewards and good partners in the community for road systems. So input to things like the Innovate Mound project that's getting ready to kick off. And also working with them on, we're working through what we call some intergovernmental support agreements right now to see whereas municipalities might be able to help us and we might be able to maximize on work that's being done already on things like roads, snow removal, bulk salt purchasing, and some of those other items. Government and industry, really, as I said, we try to be good stewards here in our community. So we're very tied in with our state partners through all this COVID crisis, working hand in hand with the State Emergency Operations Center, working hand in hand with the Selfridge team and the Guard as well. We also are very active. We are a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I sit on the board of directors for the Macomb County Chamber of Commerce and are part of the Aerospace and Defense Committee, just as Kevin Chandler is our chair for that particular committee. Innovation, research, and development. We are looking for more of those public partnerships and public-private partnerships. And we're doing a lot of work right now on our energy resiliency and the impact of our ability to deliver energy here in the local regional area, and are participating in a study with the Macomb County right now. Of interest, we count on the City of Warren to be our partner for law enforcement. We do not have jurisdiction, so we do not have policing authority on the installation. We also have mutual aid agreements with the City of Warren and about 17 other municipalities for helping out them, likewise them coming to help us if we have any sort of major event. We do a lot of exercising with our partners. So we have an annual exercise program and they're very active participants. Next slide. I kind of like to show this picture because it shows that I am a tenant on Colonel Kramer's installation, but we're located in a couple of different spaces. We have a few what we call standalone facilities where we have excess folks working who maybe don't fit directly in our footprint. And then some of them actually need more space than I can provide them here on my little quarter square mile here at the Arsenal. So some of those programs and those services happen out at Selfridge. So many moons ago, there was another base realignment enclosure. We talked about one that closed the tank plant. The Army garrison used to run housing and a number of different activities out at Selfridge. In 2005, the decision was made that those activities would close. So we actually shut down and we demolished some housing. The wing has demolished some additional housing. But we found that the plan to have an enhanced use lease for other organizations to lease space from the wing and run things like the golf course kind of fell through. So we found a place that allowed us to have the wing commander request us to still provide service as the nearest active duty installation. And so at the request of the wing commander, we provide for morale, welfare, recreation activities, both for my folks here at the Arsenal and for the folks out at Selfridge. So many of you may have played golf at one of the outings out there. You may have driven by and seen our Child Development Center when you've come on post. Those are all activities that the Army hosts, or host is the wrong word. The Army runs there with the wing as the host. So overall, you can see it roughly about 6,000 of our folks fit on our footprint, and we've had to find a little other space. What's interesting right now is we're doing like many other businesses are doing and really taking a look at our business strategies for the future. and how we do our work, right? So we've all been forced out to a much more remote delivery of work, and we're starting to take some hard look at like how much space do we actually need if we're able to make more use of work from home or blended workspace. So that's a piece that we're working with right now. Next slide. I'll share just a few things that are some accomplishments that I'm really proud of for my team, and they really speak a little bit to the partnerships that we have as well. We just recently received a Secretary of the Army Partnership Award for our work with L'Anse Creuse Public Schools. So as I said, we had some housing and different things that we had run at Selfridge, and we ran Sibyl Manor, which was a little satellite housing area, which housed our middle school and teen program. When we closed that facility, my middle school and teen program then kind of became homeless. But that team was super innovative and has worked with Macomb County for years in L'Anse Creuse Public Schools. And we've been able to house our middle school and teen program at their middle school there on Crocker as a partnership. So in exchange for use of space at the public school, we're able to offer our programming to some of those kids that attend that school as well. And we've been able to keep that program running now for almost 10 years. So we were really excited to be recognized by the Secretary of the Army for making this partnership work in our community. We received the Installation Management Command, and I'm part of a regional group called Sustainment, their best Garrison Army Fire Prevention Program of the year. And we became the best Army Fire Prevention Program for the year. So our team does a lot of very proactive work. Our footprint really includes a lot of, I'll call interesting things like laboratories and different spaces that maybe have a little bit more fire risk than the average building. So they're doing a great job. My fire department recently became accredited through a national fire accrediting agency, and we're only one of 7 Army installations that has received this accreditation. So we're very proud of that accomplishment as well. My Child and Youth Services program is also accredited. Army Child Care is really kind of a gold standard. So we're really proud that we're able to offer this service in both Detroit Arsenal, where we have a child care center, as well as over at the Bryant Center on Selfridge. We actually had our energy program manager, Ms. Shannon Burke, win an Department of the Army Energy and Water Management Individual Award, and we're very excited. And as I said, she's done a lot of outreach with some of our local partners to get after not only energy security and resilience for our installation, but also looking more regionally as well. We're the IMCOM Best Garrison finalists for our sustainment group. We're really excited about that. If we make it up the chain, we'll be in line for the Commander-in-Chief's Award for Best Installation. And then something that I thought was really fun this year, I really appreciated, we partnered with the Detroit Institute of Arts and had them install some of their inside out artwork around the installation. And while it was super sad to have that happen during this year of COVID, because we pushed so many folks off the installation to work right now, we were very excited about that opportunity and look forward to looking at more things we might do with the DIA to help bring art to our community here on the Arsenal. So that is my last slide. And I'll pause. I guess we'll do questions jointly.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Carrie. That was a great presentation, and it's always amazing to me just, how far your reach is between you and Selfridge. Just the impact on the community is just, it's way bigger than I think a lot of people even can comprehend. So I appreciate you and all you do, and we have a great relationship with you as well. And we've had the honor of bringing our classes to tour your campus, and that's always one of the highlights too. So seeing those tanks up close and in person and is amazing, and it's awe-inspiring to see what goes on there. So thank you so much for all you do. And I'm going to turn it over now to Julie Petkoff, who works with me. She's been keeping track of some questions that came in. So Julie, you want to take it over?
Hi, everyone. First, I want to say my name is Julie Petkoff. I'm the program manager. I've worked with Karen for about 5 years now. First, thank you, Colonel Kramer, Carrie Mead, for being here today. Colonel Kramer, just thank you for your service to our country, your sacrifice of you and your family. We really appreciate that. Carrie, I know you're not in the Army, but we appreciate everything that your team is doing to support the Army and everybody at Southridge. So you guys both did a great job. I know you're really busy, so we appreciate your time, and you guys did a great job. So thank you so much. So our first question is for Colonel Kramer. It said, what kind of threats are you preparing for both overseas and from within our country, namely as we think of places like North Korea, Syria, and Iran?
Well, thank you for the question. Let me first, I would be remiss if I didn't correct some information I gave you earlier. And that is, so my PA, Mr. Ulmer, is on it. He knows his numbers, and he corrected me. He said the Selfridge Air Show, which is not in June this year, it's in 22, it's in July, 23, 24 July. So I give you that of for a correction on the date. The other thing is the numbers that come into the air show. A daily average of 133,000 people come to the base to see their show, and an additional 100,000 on Lake St. Clair watching from the lake. That's a huge, to me, I didn't know that either. So I was pretty impressive. And it makes us the largest community event in the state by far. So then the other thing is, when I said that we have been selected for the F-35, that's a misstatement. We were on a list of candidates to get the F-35, and seems like we're perpetually on that list, but we're always prepared to take new missions and looking forward into the future to see if we will be a destination. We hope, but that decision hasn't been made.
I think they call that speaking it into existence. Cosmo.
Yes, there you go. Thank you. Yeah, it's right. I have a vision, right? We have a vision. We just want, our vision is it's here, but that hasn't been determined by the senior policymakers yet. And then now to your question. So great question. How do we prepare for the emerging threats? And I can tell you, and I know it's a sensitive topic, but it really comes down to we're always prepared. Our motto is always ready, and we are training all the time for any threat to the United States homeland and the people. So I would like to say that we're responsive when it comes to, we're not fighting a World War II fight. We're not training for a World War II fight today. We're training for a near peer conflict. And we're also trained to take on rogue actors. So we're always training, and we take our doctrine and we improve on it every year. So I know it's a general question, but.
Can I add on that just a little bit?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so interesting for both Colonel Kramer and I, the threat is different now, right? Even with respect to the actors that you're talking about. And if you've been watching the news at all, you saw recently in California, there was an attack on a utility system trying to work on the water. So the old adage, right, to your point about World War II and training in that way, installations are no longer the safe haven that maybe they were perceived as being previously. And we're always looking for ways to protect them now from these new threats, especially as we look at different cybersecurity threats and those sorts of things. So while Colonel Kramer can talk really about projecting out and doing those threats, we also have a kind of the same objective of trying to protect the installation in that way from these emerging things that are happening.
Right. Yeah, to your point, Carrie, that we're not always protecting from a kinetic effect. It could be a non-kinetic effect.
You guys just like to blow stuff up, we know.
Right. Yeah, that is the Air Force, right?
So kind of to go along with that, it said, how are we preparing for the next generation as we hear of shortages among the young people of wanting to serve?
Yeah, that is an excellent question, and one that if you saw in the bio, I went to the Army War College at Carlisle, so I've got some Army blood in me, and that was back 5 years ago, and that was one of the key topics that they discussed is how does the military attract and recruit the younger generation today with so much changing in society. So we're always looking to get creative in our recruiting models and getting into the schools and understanding that people are different today than they were 20 years ago. So, one example of how we're doing that, and it's specific to the Air Force, but females and their hair, the standards that we used to have changed. We understand now we need more diverse. We need a bigger cross section of society. We need more females. We need more, people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, because they all add value to, critical thinking and some of the problem solving we need today. And we understand that, we can't ask females to have their hair, like a male. It's just not. So that recently came out, this month, is that, hey, female hair standards have changed for the Air Force. So those are the types of things we're doing, is trying to understand that, hey, it's not my grandfather or grandmother's military, it's today's military, and our senior leaders are getting on it, getting after it. So, and then from locally, what we're trying to do is a big awareness campaign. We're on Facebook. We're on the 127th Wing website. We're out there trying to get connected to the people in the social medias outlets. And by the way, if anybody is interested in joining the team, see our Facebook page, like us, and we'll have a recruiter contact you.
Are your numbers down or up right now? Like personally on your.
I will say we can always use more. Right. We can always use more. We're looking to add. And I would say we're recruiting a decent amount of people, but when you have this, the COVID has been a challenge. It really has been a challenge. So but even in the light of COVID, I think we're doing okay. But it's just getting people into the Air Force and into a school so that they can feel like they're part of the team. That's our biggest challenge is get them in, and once they get here, they're gonna love it. It's just getting them in the door. So yeah.
Usually, I was gonna say, I'm the part of a number of different nonprofit boards that are defense industry related, and one of the things that we're trying to do is really bring STEM to children related to defense, to help them understand back to Colonel Kramer's point earlier about the variety of things that you can do to support DoD. And then reach them early enough that before they've made a decision about what they think they want to do, they have a chance to look at all of the different and neat things that go on. And on our end, at least on the Army, and over here, being active in engineering and those sorts of things, the different things that are available to them. So just trying to catch them earlier, maybe, and get them interested in what we're doing.
I did have another question pop up here. When there is a change in the presidential administration, how does it affect your jobs?
Carrie, I'll let you go first on that one.
Well, thank you, Colonel Kramer. It's a pleasure doing this with you. So really, I'm still running the installation, right? So when there's a change in leadership, for me, Colonel Kramer talked about the governor being his exec. My commander-in-chief is the president. So change in leadership may drive some changes in funding and those sorts of things. But for me, running the garrison, we kind of know what we need to run the garrison. Sometimes we'll be challenged maybe to push some things off to later dates. For me, it's critical things like, repair and maintenance for just regular structures, right? Those, and I know Colonel Kramer's got the same challenges that I have on that, right? We kick the can down the road a little bit, and then it then becomes something that needs to be replaced as something that needs to be repaired. Sure. But that change, really might make some change in dollars. It might make some change in dollars for my tenants who are procuring things. That might drive my population number that you saw here on post up or down, depending on how many people they may need to do the jobs to do those things. So it's not a wild swing. It's just part of the circle of life, I guess, in the defense industry.
right? And I'll, to add on to that, absolutely. One thing about the military that I love is that we go back to the roots of the Constitution, and the military falls under civilian control. So when the president's still our commander in chief on the federal side. We have two missions in the Guard, but priorities change, and our job is to follow the vision of our leadership, and we adjust. Now this, if you're referring to, how does it change with this next administration, we'll know when budget cycles come down, when priorities come for training and readiness. That's when the job will change, but it not as drastic as you might think. It's subtle changes to the airman or the soldier at the lowest levels, and maybe a little more thrash and planning and building vision statements for the senior leaders to make sure they're correctly aligned with their leadership. And I would say that's no different than what we do is in the civilian world as well. You follow the direction of your chain of command or your leadership, or you might not have a job, right?
I know the last time that we were able to go on Selfridge, I can't remember who gave our tour, but you guys had some housing that you were going to use for the veterans, and the veterans were going to work on it. Can you speak to that a little bit, Colonel Kramer?
Yeah, so I would love to be able to speak to it, but I am not certain where we're at on that. You're talking about the Eisenhower group.
Yeah.
And yes, and I know that is still in the works, and I believe that COVID and I don't. So I should probably stop because I don't know. I don't know where it's at this moment. But it is still. They are still planning on doing that. That I can tell you.
Julie, I'll say kind of an interesting housing thing. So I was talking about where my middle school and teen program used to sit on Seville Manor. And that was Army housing, right? So when BRAC happened and the Army left Selfridge, we were still responsible for that satellite housing area. And very excited if you haven't been up that way, but we were finally able to come to a deal with the state of Michigan to sell that property to them. It was about 103 acres. And they've put a new veterans home up there. So it's the only veterans home, state veteran-run veteran home in our Tri-County area here. So that's a great win for our community as well.
That's amazing. How many veterans does it house?
Colonel Kramer, do you know the answer to that question? Just joking. I don't know the answer to that question, but it's a big facility. I can find that out and you can share it back with the group.
Okay, I was curious if it was. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
that's amazing. Carrie, can you, or Miss Mead, can you talk about what's going to be happening? You just kind of hinted at something building in 2022.
Great. Yeah, one of the the military construction program is how the DoD prioritizes the different large construction programs across all of the military installations. And in the Army, we have what we call a facilities investment plan, where we rack and stack those big ticket items, if you will, that we need to build. So, for us, most of the time, those are very mission driven activities. So we're getting ready to build a new electrical substation on post because we'd reached our peak point for any redundancy on the installation. So very important for the growth of mission here, and the growth, of course, of laboratory space, which has a different requirement for electricity to be able to bring that new substation online. So we're very excited, and very excited also to see what opportunities we have to work on some energy resiliency for the region, in partnership with our operational partners here at the Ground Vehicle Systems Center for some of the things that they're doing, and then to help share that information with our partners in the area, including our friends at Selfridge.
That's pretty neat. That's great. Thanks, Karen. Do you have another question?
Julie,
here?
I'm going to interject here really quick. Sorry, the housing complex in Chesterfield will house about 100 people.
Wow, that's awesome. Thanks, Lori. Lori works for Macomb County Planning.
Thanks, Lori.
Economic
No problem.
Great. Thanks, Lori. I have another question here from Alvin. He says, I work in hospice. How can our industry help support our military and their families and cope with their challenges from an emotional perspective? That's a good question, Alvin.
So that's a great question. I'll pump on quick, Colonel Kramer, if you don't mind, and just say that I recently saw something that came through from the Sec Army channels on caregivers, right? And really focusing on caregivers for our military members, especially those who've been wounded or have other issues after they come out of service. So it might be good for me. I'll share with Julie some information that's put out by Sec Army. Really, it's just, staying connected in the community, right? If you work in hospice, Alvin, then you know that there's a great network and a lot of partners that come into making a great program. And the same is for any veterans programs that we have. I'd encourage folks, the counties each have their own veteran services offices. So if you wanted to connect somewhere that would really make sure that your impact is local, perhaps reach out to those veteran service offices in your county to see how you guys might be able to better connect on vets who might need help with the kind of services that you provide.
And I won't be able to add much to that, Carrie, but I would say what we talk about the Chesterfield home, that might be a great starting point to talk to the folks at the home and get plugged in and connected with them and ask what you can do. Because I don't have the details on what you can do in that industry. And I know it's very important too. So.
Do you guys think that anything with SpaceX will actually come to Michigan?
Well, I can.
Hot, Julie, geez.
What?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kramer. It's your.
I was just going to say I know that I know what you all know and what was advertised in terms of vertical and horizontal space launch sites throughout Michigan. If I remember correctly, the old Wordsmith Air Force Base is where they're going to do a commercial horizontal launch site, and I think I read that the old K.I. Sawyer up in Gwynn, Michigan, is where they're going to propose to do a vertical launch site. But all of that, the Michigan Aerospace Manufacturing Association, they're the POCs for that because it is a commercial initiative. I don't know the company. I don't know SpaceX or Blue Orient or what which company is doing it, but I know that's pretty exciting for the state. I don't know how it would impact the county, but it's pretty.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of what I've seen, a lot of the work around that area, and I know there's some partners on the line with us as well that have been working with them. A lot of the aerospace and defense industry is on the west side of the state, and some emphasis, of course, in Traverse City as well in the northern parts, as Colonel Kramer talked about. So there's still opportunity here, as he was saying, that the defense community here would certainly welcome
Right.
any of that additional mission to come our way. And we're working on it.
Yeah.
I think that is all for the questions. If anybody else has any more, feel free to chat or ask them. But again, we just wanted to thank Colonel Kramer and Ms. Mead for joining us today and for all of you guys participating. Really insightful, and we appreciate, I know you guys are super busy, so we just appreciate your time. And I'll give it over to Ms. Karen.
Thank you. Thanks again, Colonel Kramer and Carrie, for everything you do and for being here with us and explaining, and we really appreciate it. Again, the defense industry is so instrumental to Macomb County, so it's important, and I think you guys did a great job, and hopefully all our participants learned something new today. Next month, we're going to be offering 2 sessions in March. March 11th, our topic is leadership during crisis. And Vicki Rowinski from the county is going to be chairing that session. And she's got a couple of speakers lined up that have done some really great things during this pandemic that they're going to share with us. And then on March 25th, we are going to be learning how the courts and jails have adjusted to working through the pandemic. And that is very interesting. They've been really doing a lot to change the way they do business. And, a lot of the processes they put in place during the pandemic will be used going forward as far as virtual hearings and sentencings and things like that. So Ryan Zemke, the magistrate at 41B District Court, will be chairing that session, and we've got some great speakers for that day as well. And all of our sessions, you can register or find out more information by going to leadershipmacomb.org. And thank you again for being here. I appreciate it. And everyone be safe. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So Bill Paling was on my RM, and we always tease him about doing the RM wave at the end of the,
Oh.
how to do the wave. Thanks you guys for this opportunity. Good to
Thank
see you.
you, Carrie. Good to see you.
Carrie, nice seeing you.